First of all, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak here. And in this presentation today, I will deal with expressive typography to improve communication. But there is one specific term in how we describe this new typographic research area. So this term is called visual prosody. So at Microsoft and at research, we link this expressive typography to a scientific connotation and a connection with human speech. And in the following slides, I will try to explain what prosody is and what the added value could be to make it more visual. So prosody is the collective noun for a range of speech features peculiar to spoken language. These features, like intonation or stress, they can be crucial to understand exactly what the speaker or the narrator is trying to tell us. So prosody is the expression that gives words in a sentence an extra meaning. Prosody is also a widely studied object within the linguistics. So I have an example here. The old man can't hear you very well. Depending on where you put the stress, the meaning of this sentence can differ. So you all can read, but it would be really hard as an audience to agree which would be the right description. And although we use prosody in everyday conversations, the words in a composed text, they are completely uniform in weight and in size, as if to convey a monotone. And children, they read more monotonous than when they would speak aloud. And research showed that this might lead to problems in reading comprehension. In the Netherlands, they tried to make reading aloud way more popular, and like the royal family and one of the princesses, they started with competitions in reading aloud for children. You can compare it to the US spelling competitions. So there, they also see the need of getting it more, reading with more expression. So currently we are conducting several researches within visual prosody, and today I would like to present the first study that we did in collaboration with Microsoft Advanced Reading Technologies and with Kevin Larson. And also my 2 PhD students, they got involved into this study, and so also credit needs to go to them. One of my PhD students, Maarten Renkens, is sitting over there, so you can also talk to him if you have more questions about the research. So in the following minutes, I will first talk about the problem definition, how we visualize prosody, and then we will have a look at the quantitative research and the qualitative research. Then I will try to give some takeaway messages for the designers, and then I will talk a little bit about the future work that we are doing. So first, the problem definition. So the major problem we are facing is that within education, expressive reading is an undervalued part within the overall literacy. So when children start to read, most of the focus is on reading speed and on accuracy. And what they notice is that beginning readers often struggle when they need to read aloud. And although like reading speed and accuracy is one of the main descriptions of fluent reading, that is not only it. It's also a proper expression or the prosodic variation in how you can evaluate reading aloud, and also, of course, then the naturalness of reading. So in this project, we explored whether it is possible to visualize prosody in type and how this can help children with reading aloud. So, but how do we visualize prosody within a typeface? The key for this I found within the 3 main components of speech prosody, namely pitch, intensity, and duration. And pitch meaning that your voice can go higher, intensity that speech can go louder, and duration means that the voice can go slower. So what we try to do is that we translated intensity into a bolder typeface, the duration into a wider or in more extended letters, and pitched into raised letters. So in this study, we used two variants, like a subtle and a full condition, to discover if there was differences in recognitions and within the reading aloud. So how did we test this? The prosodic typefaces, they were presented in 20 small booklets, each containing 45 sentences in a random order. It looked like this, and the total of 45 sentences consisted of 5 different sentences which repeated in the different conditions and across all, randomly across all the 20 booklets. And in each sentence had a different prosodic cue on a certain word. So the participants in the study were 120 Flemish children aged 8 to 10. They followed regular education, and they had acquired the technical reading skills. And this is important because you first need to acquire these skills before you can focus on expression. And in order to receive information about visual prosody, the total amount of children, they were divided in an information and a no information group. So it means that in the one-on-one sessions with the children, the no information group gets no information about the prosodic cues, while the information group is shown the different condition and is given examples of the reading the sentences with an increased prosody. And these instructions we taught in a playful manner, where the child has to discover where the prosodic cues were in the sentences, and then relying on their intuition, what it could mean, and with our help, the children were taught in how to read them aloud. And it's only after a participant showed completely understanding of the task that the test was started. We took care of high-quality recordings and adjusted a specific program to analyze the effect of the expressive typefaces on the speech of the child. So in the next slides, you are about to go to hear a child that is going to read. So these are the results of the children from the information group. So in the first case, you will always hear the child read the sentence in the normal condition, and in the second time in the condition with the prosodic typeface. So I hope the sound is on.
De beer is in de tuin.
And then with the other cue.
De beer is in de tuin.
So they are using the prosody that they are taught in. Then we go to the results of...
De poes zit op de grote doos.
So this is the intensity. So first the normal condition, and now we are going to hear with the prosodic cue.
De poes zit op de grote doos.
And then in the following slide, you will hear the results about the duration. So first, again, the normal condition, and then with the duration parameter.
De poes zit op de grote doos. De poes zit op de grote doos.
So you can clearly hear that they understand how they should read aloud. So it is also very important to note that reading aloud of a single parameter, it never happens in isolation. It means that when a child, for example, uses the duration parameter, or when it speaks slower, that also there will be an effect on the intensity and on the pitch. But there is always the highest value within the intended parameter for the prosodic cue. What we also did was a qualitative research, and this was done by a questionnaire where we wanted to learn more about the clarity, the difficulty level, and reading experience, and also the preferences of the kids of using this visual prosody. So after a whole class finishes the one-on-one sessions, then we went back to the class, preferably like 2 days after, and we handed out these questionnaires to them. And by this, we could discover what they remembered from the prosodic cues, if all the cues are seen within the text, if some are better seen than others, and also what their opinion was of using these kinds of texts. So first, the children got a recognition test, and they had to mark all the emphasized words. So within the sentences, there are different conditions, and the children needed to mark it so that we as researchers could see if everything was very clear. So the results of this is that from all parameters, the bolder typeface adaptations intended to increase the loudness had the highest visibility, and the duration parameter scored the worst. So with the intensity, there was only like 1 of the 180 kids that didn't saw this parameter, while in the duration parameter, we had 26 in the full condition, 26 children who didn't saw the parameter. And with the pitch, there is even a higher number where only 1 kid didn't saw the full condition and 92 didn't saw the subtle condition. The next thing that we did was a memory test. So they had to fill in the gap with the right pronunciation. So we give them, in fact, like the answer. We said to them, like, for example, in the sentence above, the word is more extended. So I should read the word out, and then they could fill in slower. The results of those is that the difficulty level is not that high. With the intensity parameter, like there was a percentage of 81% correct. With the duration, although that they don't see it very often, they know exactly what they need to do when the word is spread out longer. It's 93%, and with the pitch parameter, they also knew what to do with the voice. Then what is also really important for us as designers and also for Microsoft is what children think about this, if they like it or if they dislike it. And it was really nice to read, like, it helped me, or if you don't know how to pronounce it, you do it automatically. There is also the one, it's better for all of us and easier to read. It's easier to read because you don't have to read at the same tone, and then it doesn't become boring. It's fun because you read it more beautiful. I like it because you see how you have to read it for real. So these are all like these appreciations of the kids, what made us feel like, okay, we are doing valuable research. So the takeaway messages that we have for now, because we are continuing the research, is that when designers would like to implement a pitch parameter, that they should focus on the full condition. That's the reference, because the subtle condition, it wasn't seen enough. With the intensity parameter, we noticed that both a full and a subtle conditions are good references when you want to implement this. And the full implies a larger increase of the louder voice, and the subtle scored somewhat lower. And so a valuable follow-up study would be finding out if children are sensitive to gradations in the font and thus in using their loud voice. When it comes to duration, then we would recommend the full condition. But from a designer's point of view, because this was a parameter that 1 out of 4 kids missed out, but from a designer's point of view, we question if it would be possible to design an even more extended typeface that is still aesthetically justified in terms of letter shapes and text color. So for the future work, there are follow-up studies. So the study we are currently running with 180 kids from 7 to 11 years old is that we are using the prosodic cues that you have seen into reading comprehension tests, so in full text, and we are testing if it helps them with comprehensive reading, as well as memory questions as non-memory questions. Another important study that we started with is how we can improve the communication for deaf and hearing impaired, because they are missing out the information that we get by sound. And here it would be very helpful for them if with automatic translation when we speak, if encaptation prosodic cues are used, because then they get an extra layer of meaning within the text. Maarten Renkens is focusing on the age group from 8 till 18, and then we also are with 2 who are focusing on adults, like people who are born deaf and people who are hearing impaired or turned deaf after they learn to speak. So that's visual prosody seems to be very beneficial for minority groups. Another minority group that we are planning to test are autistic kids. Why? Because autistic kids, they often sound sad, serious, or sarcastic because of a lack of variance in their speech. And also in that, we can try to help them to be more expressive and to show more of the emotions. But we are not only talking about follow-up studies. There are also a lot of design explorations that we are currently on. For example, there are more than 3 parameters where we will also now explore the opposites of what you have seen, which means like a softer, a lower, or a faster voice. We are looking at comics to see how they are using this expressiveness and how we can translate it into a regular typeface. Then we are also up for getting more emotions into type related with the prosodic cues that we already have. And that's it. Thank you.